Hey Lead Store fans, this is Bill Rice coming to you again this week with a new sales tip. Well, this is a fun one, an often asked question about how to write email drip campaigns. And today, not only are we going to talk on the whiteboard, but I'm also going to take you to my computer and we're going to put fingers to keyboard and we're actually from a blank page, I'm going to show you how I think through and actually write drip emails. All that on this video. All right, so I am super excited about this one. I love email marketing and all of its different facets. And this particular question is one that I get a lot. A lot of you have asked for email templates. And more importantly, probably the question you should be asking is, how do I actually write these emails so that they're effective? And so I'm going to try to answer all that. And I'm actually going to show you as I do it. So I'm going to let you sit over my shoulder and we're going to open up a blank document and start writing an email drip campaign. And you can hear me talk through it, think through it, and actually put the words on paper so you can see what they physically look like. And of course, I do have templates for you. And so you can always ask for those in the comment section and I will share with you a link or reach out to you directly if you're not on our email newsletter. If you're on our email newsletter at ageleadstore.com, then you're getting all of this material every single week. So I'd encourage you to do that. The other thing I want to do before I kind of jump to the whiteboard is, as always, encourage you to subscribe and share this. If you think it's valuable, share it with a friend or a colleague and show them how you're having success. Or maybe other people in your agency. Share this. We would love for that to happen. Give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying it. This particular week, I want to give you 2 assignments to put in the comments so that I can help you out. So one assignment that you could potentially do is, because drip email campaigns, even though we're going to talk about writing them, there are a lot of little facets and moving pieces inside of actually building and launching a drip email campaign that can get you hung up and get you stuck. So if you're stuck somewhere or there's something preventing you from launching your first campaign, in the comment section, tell me what's hanging you up, what's got you stuck, and I will comment back to you. I try to hit the comments and complete all of them and answer back everybody that comments to us within the same day. I will personally go in there and try to get you unstuck with the best advice that I can give. Number 2, as we kind of go through this, one of the most important aspects of writing a drip email campaign, of course, is the subject line. So I would love for you to drop a sample of a subject line that you would like to use in your next drip email campaign. And I'll personally get in there, and probably the community as well. We'll get in there and we'll try to tune that subject line up for its maximum impact, or maybe just give you an alternative to try in an A/B test. So in the comments section, either tell me what's got you stuck. I'm going to help unstick you. Or number 2, drop a subject line in there and we'll try to give you either a good alternative or maybe tune up the one that you're getting ready to use. Okay, so as we talk about how to write a drip email campaign, one of the first things that I think is really important to do, and I'm not sure everybody does this very well, but because I do run an agency and I am working with multiple clients, this is actually a really important facet of how I kind of get things done and make sure that I'm developing something specifically for an individual client and circumstance. But I think it's a really valuable skill, even for you, just working in your business to kind of go through this exercise. And that is mentally prepare for the campaign you're getting ready to build. There are certain things in your mindset and the way you're thinking about things that I think will really help you, one, get past the blank page to the full campaign, and actually be able to kind of refine the way that you write and the emails that you produce in your drip email campaign. So let's take a look at how I mentally prepare. So first and foremost, you're going to sit down and you're going to act like a normal person. Sometimes, for whatever reason, when we're building out a marketing campaign, we kind of get into this formal mode, or we feel like we have to be flowery or something kind of special and at a different level than we normally would if we were just pounding out an email to a friend or a colleague, right? But in email particularly, it's important that you come off, and in drip email campaigns particularly, probably even more important, that you come off and you deliver an email that feels like you're just a normal person, right? You're not stacking up a whole bunch of bullet points of benefits and have a nice dense email. You're not using flowery or formal language. You're just sending off a quick, hey, take a look at this, or hey, I think I can help you. Just reach back out to me or reply to this email if you're interested, right? Something quick and easy, like a normal person, right? So not only the language, but the look of the email needs to come off as a normal person. Another one, I kind of talked about this a little bit a second ago. Oftentimes I'll see sales emails are just full of bullets, right? And somewhere along the way, probably maybe websites or other marketing things, we had this concept of we've got to list out all of our benefits, right? Whoever we're selling to or pitching to needs to know all of our benefits. It doesn't really work like that in email, and it certainly doesn't work like that anymore with our kind of attention deficit society and social media and our phones and everything. You kind of have to bust that up into short little sound bites, right? So it's going to take more than one email to make this sale happen, right? So I think the other thing that hangs people up is when they're building out an email campaign, they're like, oh man, they're only going to open it once. So I got to get everything in here and I got to make the sale in this one email. And that's just not the fact, right? If for whatever reason they don't open your email, that's why we scale and we do large numbers in this, because yeah, there's going to be a bunch of people that don't open that email. There's going to be a bunch of people that actually open the email and they're not interested. It's not at that stage, right? But we're not trying to make that sale. Those people wouldn't, if you put a big long email with all those benefits and a bunch of pictures and all those sorts of things, it wouldn't have converted anyway, right? So get over that fact. Know that you're going to have to do more than one email. So don't try to stick everything you want to say in that first email. It'll just overwhelm the client and they'll just throw it away, right? So we're not going to do that. Okay. Number 3 is a big one. And this one was super hard for me early on. And I had lots of fits and starts with email marketing because this one kind of deeply wounded me, to be honest. So I feel like I'm a relatively nice guy, right? I try to convey value. I try to do all my business and all my sales in a really good personal way. But invariably, I would get some reply back where someone was pissed because I sent them an email, right? So this is just the fact of the matter is, okay? Some jackwagon, right, is going to get pissed at you. It doesn't matter how much value you try to convey. It doesn't matter how much they ask for the rate quote. It doesn't matter how nice you are in your email. It doesn't matter how soft you are in the email. It doesn't matter how much work you did in order to provide them value. Even in this case, right? I do these videos, I send these emails, and still every week somebody gets pissed at me, right? And I feel like I'm really trying to kind of help you as our audience out. So it's going to happen no matter how nice you are. And really, just to maybe help this kind of just roll off your back, is the reason they're like this, I have to believe, is that they've had some bad experiences in the past, right? Or they're in a position in their business where, or their personal life, for insurance, where, man, this was the last thing they wanted to hear about right now, or the last thing they wanted to think about. And so there's something going on their side of the equation that really kind of hit at the wrong time, right? And they're going to take that out on you. There's just not enough time in email for them to go through this process of knowing, hey, Bill's a nice guy, he's friendly, he did a lot of work for me, he's got 2 older boys, he's got 2 beautiful young daughters, and he's got a wonderful wife that he's been married to for 25 years, and he's just a super nice guy, right? There's no way you can convey that in the email, right? So people wouldn't act like that to you if they kind of knew that level of detail, but you just can't do that whenever you're doing marketing campaigns or email campaigns. So just live with the fact that someone's going to be pissed at you, someone's going to say something nasty to you, but you're just going to have to literally strike that, throw it away, don't read it, don't consume it, get rid of it, don't worry about it, right? It's not your fault. As long as you're doing the right thing, you're trying to deliver value with your product and trying to help that person get the very best insurance, very best mortgage, very best solar install, whatever the case may be. As long as you believe in the product and you're doing your very best to deliver that in a good way, you gotta let these things go, right? Otherwise, you're gonna stop emailing people and you're gonna lose all of the potential opportunity, and all those people that actually need your help are never going to hear from you. So we're not gonna be there. And this is the bottom line. most of those people, 90% of the people, even the people that don't reply to you, are probably somewhat appreciative, right? They know at some point they're going to need insurance. At some point they need a rate quote. At some point they need somebody that they can trust. Like, I can't tell you the number of times where like, hey, Bill, like, who can I go to for a mortgage, or who do I go to an insurance, or who can I buy a car from that I can trust, right? That's how referrals are made, right? And so you want to be that person. And if you start to write emails the way I'm going to show you to write emails, you'll become that trusted advisor. You'll become that person they kind of save in their email inbox and like, oh yeah, there's that gal that sent me the email, or, you know, whoever can help me, because I remember they were super nice in their email, right? And they weren't trying to kind of pressure the sale. So most of those people are going to be appreciative. You can't worry about the ones that are pissed off. Put yourself in the customer's state of mind. This is super important as well, especially when you're dealing with consumer data or age leads or even real-time leads or referrals. Each of those are different segments. And one of the exercises that you'll see me do when we're actually writing the emails is I like to sit down and think of, where could that person in this list be? What kind of things could they have experienced before in this journey? Where could they potentially be in their life that I need to address? And just really kind of think, when I send this email, it lands in their inbox, what could be their different states of mind? And make sure before I finalize that email that I feel like it's going to kind of hit them in the right place, and it's going to meet them wherever they are as far as state of mind. All right, let's flip over to the other side of the board. These are best practices. These are some of the steps that we're going to use in actually composing the email. And keep in mind, as we're actually writing the email when we step over to the computer, make it short. I can't tell you, this is probably the most important. Rarely in a drip email campaign do I send out an email that has more than 2 or 3 lines in it. Okay, because we're trying to, again, act like a normal person, and we're sending them, you know, just like something you would send to a friend, or an email that you would send to a client that already knows about you, and you're just trying to kind of update them or check in on them. We're going to keep it short. Now, invariably, you will have a lot of things that you want to say, and you may start unloading that in the very first email of your drip campaign. That's great. And you're going to see me do this. I'm going to take all that chunked out content and I'm going to throw it down at the bottom, and I'm going to use it over time, because I'm going to break all those concepts, because it's, you know, getting insurance or getting a mortgage is a big step. There's lots of little pieces and parts that you have to talk about and things that they need to know before they actually make their decision. So we're going to break all those big steps down into multiple emails. So if you start with a really big email, bust it up into shorter emails. And we're going to, because we know it takes more than one email, we're going to bust those up into our little emails, and you'll essentially like quickly write your full campaign. Next thing, be clear and honest. This is super important, but sometimes gets misunderstood. So let me talk about this a little bit. One, I want to be clear in what I'm trying to do and why I sent that message, right? I sent this email because I want to sell you a product, right? Don't be apologetic about the fact that I have a product that I think you will be interested in, and I'm the best one to present it to you, make you knowledgeable of it, and help you make the best decision, right? That's the clarity that you want. And then, of course, you want to be honest. You don't want to hide the fact that you're trying to sell them something or somehow sort of sneak in and sneak attack on them. You just want to, again, be super honest and open about that. You don't have to talk about it and dialogue for a huge long email. You can convey that very quickly that, hey, I know that you were interested in a rate quote. I'm here, I do that, and I would love to be able to assist you. Something as simple and clear and easy as that. Now, where I have had some pushback from our community, even specifically, is the fact that I think that it is important to be assumptive in the way that you do that. So not deceptive, but assumptive, right? Deceptive would be like these auto warranty companies that send out a thing that says, your auto warranty is about to expire and your car will explode and you'll have nothing of value, right? And it's kind of deceptive. Mortgage industry was famous for that. They would try to make you think that somehow you're going to be foreclosed on or something like that, or you didn't have the right homeowner's insurance. So there's all kinds of deceptive practices. So don't do that. But particularly for aged leads, I think it's perfectly acceptable because of the way that these were generated to approach it in the way that I approach age leads welcome process or warm-up process. So the way age leads work, and we've talked about this on a couple different other videos, but somewhere out there in the past, that person that you have in your, that you've gotten or purchased as an age lead, filled out a web form and said, I want an insurance rate quote, or I want a mortgage rate quote. And in the process of doing that, that lead provider was not able to provide what they told that person that they would provide, which is, hey, we'll get banks to compete for you, or we'll get insurance agents to compete for you, and we'll give you multiple offers and multiple rate quotes and those sorts of things. Well, there's a good chance that didn't happen. Only a couple of them did. Or for whatever reason, there are additional what we call legs on that lead, and so they become aged leads. So over time, they just age, and they didn't fully get serviced from that's the way lead generation works, right? So when I go and open up a conversation, generally the way I open that conversation is, hey, I know that you requested a rate quote, and I would just like to, if you weren't able to be helped or you didn't get what you were looking for, I would love to help and assist you. And so you're essentially going in with an assumptive message that I'm one of those people that were assigned to serve you, which is entirely the case, right? But the fact that happened 30 or 60 days ago, it doesn't really matter, right? They were looking for a rate quote. You know that they had intent to buy a product. And so you're coming along. And really kind of the fact of the matter is all those people, especially the people that buy real-time leads, man, if you don't respond immediately and they don't get you immediately, they could care less about you, right? You just get dumped into this huge database. Nobody ever talks about them again, right? So you're probably the best positioned. So just to clarify a little bit, again, clear and honest communication, but go in confidently and assumptive that you are the best person to help them. I think that's super important. Don't write this hem-hawy, hey, I want to reintroduce myself, or do any of this kind of awkward stuff that I see a lot of people do with aged leads. Go in there like you're one of the original group, and like for whatever reason, we didn't contact, but I want to help you now if you still have that need. Don't rush the ask, but don't waste their time. This is super important. Don't be over anxious. Like I said over and over again, it's going to take multiple emails in order for this sale to happen. That's the whole benefit and power of drip email campaigns. So don't try to get the sale in every single email, okay? But at the same time, do not waste their time. Okay, so we're not going to rush the ask. We're not going to waste their time. So what does that mean? So your entire, and this is something, again, you got to lock into your mind, the entire value proposition that you have is delivering a product, educating that client and delivering the best product for them, right? So if you send them an email and you don't attempt to convey your product or share with them the product or service that you can provide, you've completely wasted their time, right? This isn't your buddy who's sending you, hey, let's go to the Bears game, right? No, you are a person that sells insurance. Your relationship with them is one in which I'm an insurance or a mortgage expert consultant, and I'm going to help you get a product if you need that product. That's your entire value proposition. You send them an email without conveying that product and without helping them to potentially buy that product, you completely wasted their time. So let me give you an example that's become infamous in our office because it was a time in which we wasted our list time and we paid dearly for it. So to be fair, the client kind of wanted to do this, but here is the scenario. We were working for a free credit score provider, and we had a really productive series of email nurturing campaigns, and we would campaign and send emails to our clients, and often we would ask them to, hey, go ahead and check your credit score, or maybe get a rate quote for your mortgage or insurance if you're in that market. And so in every single email, we presented a product and we asked them if they're interested in that product to respond to us. So come holiday time, we decided, hey, we're going to take a little break. We're going to tell them how much we love them, and we're going to send a nice, fluffy, beautiful email that doesn't ask them to do anything and doesn't present any product. And so what we did is we designed this beautiful animated gift of a snow globe, and we sent it out, and it said, Happy Holidays, right? I see companies do this all the time. We got, holy cow, like 3x the number of unsubscribes that we had ever had. It was devastating. These guys unsubscribed in mass. And so all of our analysis led us to the conclusion. We even looked at some of these unsubscribes. They had been active members before, but in that moment in time, we had completely wasted their time. And guess what? They were like, I don't want these kind of messages, right? And so don't do that. Your value proposition is to have a professional relationship with them and convey your product and your service. So if you don't have anything to say to them, don't say it. If you want to send a holiday message, that's fine. Send a holiday message, but also say, I'm here to help you with any questions about insurance, okay? So always make sure you reassert that value proposition. Never send a waste their time kind of email. Talk about ideas, not features and benefits. I think this is one that, again, we've kind of had hard-coded into us from a marketing perspective or sales perspective. And you hear us say all the time, give them benefits, get them benefits, 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 benefits. And actually, I found that that sort of hammering just starts to make them numb. You want to talk about ideas and concepts, because nobody comes into a conversation or reads an email and says, oh yeah, I was wondering exactly what the rate is on an FHA loan, and I'm appreciative that you told me that that's different. No, what they're thinking of is like, hey, I'd love to buy my first house. Like, how do I do that, right? And so you want to talk about buying your first house. You want to talk about, hey, you know, as the kids move out of the house, your life insurance needs may change, right? Or, hey, you're getting ready to have this teenager come onto your insurance policy. Like, oh, that's a dramatic life event and it's going to cost you a ton of money. You should do some research, right? So talk about those ideas and those concepts and educate them on times and situations and life style and life periods of time in your life where life events that are going to change what the decisions that you need to make. So focus on ideas. I found that to be the most powerful, not necessarily features and benefits. All right, and then the last two before we step over the computer and actually kind of hammer out a few of these live is single call to action. Like I said over here, don't waste their time. There should be at least a call to action, right? And never more than one. So the exact number as far as call to actions is 1, right? We don't want to have any less than that. We don't have any more than that. Now, we're going to talk about PS a little bit when we sit over and hammer out some of these. It's kind of a subtle second call to action, but you want to have one main point. Don't try to ask them to do a bunch of things. Don't line up a bunch of steps for them to do. One thing you want to do or have them do to take the next step. And then this is one that I see all of the time. These are super important, but this one is probably the most important, especially because we're going to be dripping on them and we're going to be talking to them over time. They're going to squirrel away that email and they're going to come back to it later. You have to have a signature block, right? That signature block needs to contain all of the best ways to get a hold of you, but also not be overwhelming. So my signature block is very simple on all my emails. It's my name, it's my phone number, it's my email address, and then it's my web address. Okay, couple things about that you may not have caught because they're sort of subtle. I include my email address. Yes, I sent them an email and they could just reply, but wow, that's a technical step too far. I can't tell you the number of people that said, well, I didn't know how to email you. I didn't have your email address, right? It's right there in the signature block. If you put it there, they'll copy and paste it. If you leave it out of the signature block, they don't know to reply. They don't know to take it out of the reply section and put it in their contact database. So go ahead and put it in your signature so that they can copy and paste it and put it in another email. Totally inefficient, right? But that's what people will do because they don't pay attention, right? Make sure that you have your actual web address. So you don't need to put your brand in there. You don't need to put your logo in there. You don't need to put your face. I don't want to offend the realtors, but like you don't need your face picture in there. You don't need your brand logo in there. Just put a simple hyperlink to your website, and that'll essentially convey the branding. The reason, it's not because I don't want your face in the email or I don't want your beautiful logo in the email. The problem is, depending on what kind of client they have on their side, and a lot of times when you talk about consumers, they're really unsophisticated email clients or free email clients, and oftentimes they get highly mangled, right? And so no matter how well you kind of put it in there, you end up with like all this garbage. You've probably seen some of these emails before, all this garbage HTML at the bottom, right? So keep it super simple, keep it text-based, the whole email in the case of drip email campaigns. If you're doing long-term nurturing and MailChimp and that kind of stuff, which is not what you should be doing for drip email campaign, don't use those. Don't necessarily use those for age leads until they're warmed up or whatever. That's fine. You can do some more kind of beautiful things over there. But for drip email campaigns, straight text. Signature block, straight text. Make it super simple. All right, with that, let's step over to my computer and we're going to go hammer out some drip email campaigns. And I'm going to walk you through kind of how I think through it, how I write them, and you're going to get a couple live examples. So let's step over here. Okay, let's take a look at how I actually build out drip email campaigns. I'm completely doing this off the cuff, so hopefully this stays fairly tight and coherent, but I'm just going to kind of show you live how I go through this process. Now, my background is in the mortgage industry, and so as you've seen through these videos, and some of my past examples, a lot of them are kind of mortgage related. I know that I've had a lot of inquiries from insurance agents and brokers in particular, asking, hey, do you have an insurance version of that? So I'm going to build out a full sort of version of some examples of how I would do it for insurance, and I'm going to do a little research to kind of learn your business model a little bit. But I felt like I would show you that even without sort of kind of core insurance business, you guys are you guys and gals are the experts at insurance, right? In order to do this step in the process, really, what I'm showing you is general marketing techniques for building out email drip campaigns. So you can learn a lot from this, even without getting super insurance specific. And it's probably actually better that way because there are some things that you're learning here on the marketing side of things that I'm going to give to you that you can use your expertise in insurance to kind of craft and refine and that sort of thing. Or at this stage of the game, you probably, and this is what I kind of explained at the first part of this video, you don't want to get too deep into the details of what you're selling, right? You don't want to get too deep into the nitty gritty because it'll start to feel like you're pushing, right? At this stage of the game, when you're talking about drip email campaigns, until you get pretty deep into that funnel, you actually want to kind of create a fairly sort of relationship friendly small talk piece of this. And so you don't want to get too detailed. So that's probably helpful that I don't know a ton about insurance. So let me give you kind of like we talked about in the beginning of the video. Let me show you kind of what the finished product looks like. Because it'll give you a sense of kind of how I build out this thing. So, like we talked about in the video, my first mindset is to try to get into the context of the actual recipient of the email. I want to make this as I hesitate to use this word, but as personal as possible. And when we say personal, I don't mean like I don't want to use their name and everything. I'll talk a little bit probably when I build this email why I actually don't use the person's name when I'm doing drip email or I'm using any sort of data or even live internet leads. I try to kind of shy away from the name itself. And try to make it feel personal in the sense that it feels like I just kind of quickly typed out the email. And you'll see that as I kind of build these. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of first outline all the different sort of scenarios that I could be beginning a drip life cycle with, right? So you can see here, these are new leads. That a refinance is different than a purchase. And so when those come in, although the emails themselves, if we were to drill in these, they don't look terribly different. But I do want to know that that life cycle is going to have a journey that's going to be slightly different because the client has a different intent and they start in a different place. There are cold ones, right? So all of a sudden, these people have been unresponsive. I don't want to just dump them on the floor like most of us do. I actually want to have another life cycle that's going to pick them up and see if there's an opportunity to get something out of that. Dead ones, right? Someone hangs up on me or I've lost them to a competitor. Again, I'm not going to stop talking to them, right? If they unsubscribe, obviously that's a whole different thing. But just because somebody hangs up on me doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to talk to me. They could be overwhelmed. They could be getting blasted by a whole bunch of people that they really didn't like their approach. And I always take kind of a different approach. So I feel okay giving them one email and just saying, hey, like we got disconnected, but like I could still be valuable to you, right? Because most people, once they have a kind of a face-to-face or they get to actually engage with you, they have a whole different approach, right? It's really easy to hang up on somebody that calls you that you don't know, but the moment you kind of start to know that person, it gets really hard to kind of be mean and nasty. So anyway, kind of wandered off there. Age leads, obviously we talk about those a lot. I have a whole different sort of approach to age leads versus some of the other things. And then once I've taken an application, I can't tell you the number of people that fall off in the mortgage industry. I'm sure it's the same in the insurance industry, but fall off after you've actually taken a loan application, right? They either wander off to a customer or a competitor, or we stop. This is what this prevents, right? We stop talking to them, and as a result, they forget who we are and they go shopping again, right? And so it's really important to do that. And then we're going to end up with something kind of like this. So let's jump in here real quick and just sort of talk about how we're going to write these. So the first assumption that I'm going to do is that we're going to do a welcome or warm-up series for age leads. So this is the concept that I'm going to use in order to kind of build this first little sample life cycle. And I'm just giving you a flavor of how I build this. It will not be perfect. There's definitely a lot of refining that needs to be done, but it'll give you sort of a sense of kind of what this workflow looks like. So I always start with the subject line, and I usually, before I get to my final thing, I'm going to do a couple different ones. So I'm envisioning here someone who has filled out a request for an insurance quote. Let's take something like I don't know, let's do auto insurance. Okay. Again, I don't know much about insurance. I'm going to do some more research. Maybe one of you guys would love to coach me on a call or something and give me an idea of kind of the nuances of the insurance and get me up to speed so I can kind of write better resources for you guys. But so let's take auto insurance, because my belief is that auto insurance is probably something that always needs to get a new rate quote on. You can always probably do slightly better than the other guy, and there's probably a high frequency of changes in that need, right? I buy a new car. I've got a car that I paid off, and maybe I need to do, I only need liability now, or I've got a kid that's coming onto the car and it's going to cost me a fortune. Maybe I need to do something slightly different with a different provider. Anyway, so my context is somebody has filled an application that says, hey, I want an auto insurance quote, but for whatever reason, they haven't done it, or the lead provider didn't get enough placements for that lead, and so they're in the age lead pool, right? And so you've gone to age lead store and you've bought a bunch of aged auto leads, right? So that person has probably been contacted by a bunch of people, but it's been 30 to 60 days, right? So my thought is one of a couple of different sort of use cases, is the way I always think of it, are going on for any particular customer that I blast out to, right? There could be one situation where they got an auto quote, they liked it, they have no new auto insurance, but 30 to 60 days later, there's a possibility that, again, something's changed, or I could beat the rate, or I could do something different, their credit's improved, I don't know. But even if they were satisfied, right, there's an opportunity here. There could be a situation where, wow, they got blasted with like 5, 6, 7 calls, in the first hour, and they just shut down and they hung up on everybody. And of course, nobody else but you guys and people that are taking this training are following up with them. So they've literally got overwhelmed, hung up on everybody, and they're just out in the wild as a potential prospect again. And they're probably, this is kind of another potential example of this, they may be in the category where they're like, I'm never going to do that again, right? I'm going to work with somebody I know, or I'm going to work with somebody that's just kind of one-on-one. So they may actually appreciate you reaching out and this feeling like a different approach, or this more feeling like, hey, it's their guy that's or their gal that's reaching out to them and connecting. And the other scenario could be that for whatever reason their situation was not perfect, or whoever contacted them was not as experienced, or didn't have the carriers that would actually give them a competitive alternative, and right, so they didn't do anything, right? So there's kind of 3 buckets. So as I think about those 3 buckets, and I know that they inquired, there's a couple different subject lines that I could come up with. It could be something like, did you get better deal your auto insurance? So this is a question, and we would write these kind of slightly different in the body, right? So you could kind of have this approach. I'm going to actually put them down here because I haven't finalized, so I like to write a couple different ones. To get a better deal on your auto insurance. You could do something like, when was the last time you checked your auto policy? So that's one that says, oh, I haven't taken a look at that before. Maybe I should, take a look. So even if they don't contact you, they're going to go take a look at their auto policy, and maybe they find something in there that says, oh crap, like I need to fix this. I don't, I have a kid driving around in my car and I don't have them on the policy, or I don't have coverage on my new car, or I got it at the dealership. I think I could get something better. Let's see, what else could we come up with? When was the last time you checked your auto policy? Oh, I had one on the tip of my. Oh, this one's, I really like sort of presumptive or assumptive sort of language. So it's time to update. Again, I'm just kind of spitballing here. Renew your auto insurance. Now you have to kind of play with this a little bit, because you got to be careful not to be deceptive, right? So you don't want to look like those people that are selling kind of auto warranties or something like that, that go in there and like act like your warranty's expired or something like that. So so you could rephrase this a little bit and say, is it time to update or renew your auto insurance? So you could ask a question. I don't always like to ask questions, although I've asked 3 here, because one of the rules that I'm kind of violating here is I, for the most part, try not to ask a question that they could say no to, right? Because I want them to open the email. So you could do something like this. Let's see if we can get you a better deal. You could just leave it a better deal. That leaves it kind of open and maybe curious. So you could play with that. This would be something that I would test, is just kind of leaving this, and they're like, a better deal on what? Like, I want to open that up. So you could try that. But one of the things I do try to do is I try to be pretty clear about, what I'm offering. I don't try to be too deceptive, because it's going to give me a better lead, right? So we got to be a little bit careful about that. So let's see. So this is something you could play with, right? Everybody's got an insurance guy, right? I want to be your insurance guy, so you can kind of play with that a little bit. So that's kind of some different options. Let's see, what else? I want to be your insurance guy. I'm trying to kind of figure out how I want to open this conversation. Let me do this one, because I'm going to probably go with something like this. Did you get the best deal? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask a question, and we're going to kind of assume the situation. All of these are potentially ones that I'm going to use in my drip, so I'm going to throw those down here. Pre-header. If you're using something like Constant Contact or MailChimp, which I don't really advise for this sort of thing, because you could potentially put age leads in there. I know we had a whole video about this, and because of the age data in there, there is going to be something over 1% that's probably not accurate in there, and of course we replace those, no problem. But in MailChimp, it could potentially lock your account. So pre-header for this particular purpose, and what this is kind of that little snippet that you get if you look at Gmail or whatever. You can facilitate that. This is better for your long-term lead nurtures, so people that you have talked to, they're on your list, they know that they're on your list, they've subscribed, or they've been a client or whatever. You'll probably want to do that, and it can be really productive. But we're going to make this look like an email you just fired out from your Gmail account, so we're going to drop that off. Okay, so body copy. All right. So a lot of times people will try to put names in here, or they'll kind of do this thing, and do some automation. First name, So you'll see something like this. And I've done this. If I feel like I have a really clean list, I will do this. But you would have to like hand walk through each one of these and make sure that you feel comfortable with that. Because this is what happens invariably. Somebody put their name all in caps. And that looks weird, right? But that's the way they put it in the form. So they're going to go, oh, yeah, this is one of those guys, right? Bombarding me, and so I'm not going to do anything. Or they're going to have something that comes across because they left that blank. I don't think we have any of that. I think we try to fill those in, but you end up with sending an email that looks like that. You get the people that put their first name in the wrong spot, right? So you get Hi Smith, right? Or you get something like, this is a classic one, like somebody will put something funny in here because they don't want to be called, so you'll end up with, sending out something like this. So let's kill that. You could do something like this. I don't really like that either because I don't know about you, but as I've kind of like over time, as we've gotten more into this kind of text messaging world of things, my emails don't have salutations and stuff very much anymore. So I leave the whole thing off. Like if I'm just going to send an email to my friend, I probably just get to it, right? And so so I would do something like this, just checking in to see if you got the new auto policy. Looking for. Here to assist. So we can do a couple different things here, right? We'll kind of talk through this. So a couple different things. That's my email. You're seeing everything that I'm going to put on here. I'm going to play with this this particular salutation or closing signature block, whatever. I can't type and talk. So at least you guys know I'm doing this live, right? So this is kind of what I'm thinking through. This is just me. So obviously you'll have something different. And then PS. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's make this a little more like you guys, right? Okay, so let's kind of talk through what I did here. Boom, that's my email, right? This is how easy it kind of should be and can be. All right, put that in there. We'll make sure we delete that out before I send it out. I'll give that guy a bunch of free business. Okay, so this is email number one. Okay, and let's. Sorry, I feel like organization is really important, like as you do these things, just to kind of make it easy for you to manage, because this is going to start to get unruly. Okay, so subject line, did you get the best deal on auto insurance, right? You just kind of open it up. You know that they asked for an insurance quote at some point, so the thought is that's kind of sticking in the brain somehow, and this should kind of trigger almost a subconscious or an unconscious sort of reaction that like, oh, okay, I'm gonna open that. Like it could be the guy I talked to the last time. It could be my insurance person. There's a lot of ambiguity in that that potentially gets them to kind of open it and be introduced to you, right? And again, I'm going to be a little bit assumptive, right? I'm not trying to be deceptive, but I want to be assumptive at this early stage to give them confidence and sort of take control of the situation. Sales is a competitive, sort of aggressive sport, in my opinion, and so you should lead with some strength. So you're assuming like that you're their insurance person, right? Just checking to see if you got the new auto policy you were looking for, right? And that's as simple as this. Hey, that's the purpose of my email, is to just check to see if you got that auto policy you were looking for, right? If not, I'd be happy to assist, right? Kind of gives them an out. It shows I'm not a jerk and I'm not pushing. I'm not trying to sell in the first email. So that's super important. Always put a signature block. I don't put the like, best regards, sincerely, Bill, or whatever. I just put the signature block. Again, I cut out the salutation. I cut out that ending piece because it just kind of looks manufactured. And if you overwork this thing, it starts to look like a different thing. But this just looks like, hey, I'm Bill. I'm the local insurance guy, just working to make a buck in the world. And I just sent you a quick email. This looks like something that's just personal, nice person, trying to do a good job, and send it out. I'm not trying to do anything here that feels like as aggressive as it actually is, right? P.S. Before I leave the signature, always your phone number. Always your email. Yes, you emailed them, but it's amazing like how many people get disconnected there. Like, oh, what's his email? Like, you could reply to the email, but they don't get that, right? They want to see it, or they want to add it to their address book or whatever. And then, of course, your website. The website just gives you some credibility. You should have one, and it should look nice and professional. So always do a signature block. For the most part, put that PS in there, right? This is really important on this welcome. Is like, this is kind of like a second call to action. Probably the primary call to action in this particular first email is like, hey, even if you got, so what you're trying to kind of prevent is them say, oh yeah, I got the auto policy I want, I'm just going to delete this email. Instead, say, no, that's okay. If you've got it, go ahead and save this email for the future. I want to be your insurance guy, right? The person who probably gave them the policy could care less if they get a second sale out of them, right? They got the sale they want. So this kind of shows that you're a different kind of person. All right. So now let's go to email 2. And then this will probably be all I can kind of get to in this video. We'll probably do some more, but this will just kind of give you, like I said, all I'm trying to do is give you a sense of the flow and kind of the mental process I'm going as I'm building out a drip email campaign. So email number 2. So I've already talked to them. The other thing that I always like to do on here, this is day 0. That's essentially the day I get the list, or I start working the list with email. This, I'm going to give them a couple days. So this can either be day 2 or 3, depending on your comfort level. I don't want to sit very long. So we're going to do subject line again. Start to get lazy. And I know the body now. So that was kind of for you guys. I don't normally do that. Normally my stuff as a final product, and you'll see is super simple because I kind of know what I'm doing here, and I don't want to have to cut and paste around a bunch of junk, right? So I make these so that I can quickly get them into my system. Okay. Email number 2, subject line, did you get the best deal on your insurance? So there's a good chance they never saw the first email. So the other thing that I'm usually really comfortable with is acting like this is kind of a fresh day, right? One thing that I see a lot that I don't think works very well, or I don't react very well, is, hey, did you see my last email, right? Then that just tells me, oh my gosh, this guy's going to drip on me forever, right? So you don't want to kind of play that card, and you don't want to annoy them, because if they did see the email, they're like, yes, I saw the email, I didn't care, that's why I didn't reply to you, right? So you don't want to kind of take that approach, right? So you want to just say, again, you're trying to start a normal person relationship. So don't do all those like weird and kind of wacky things that makes a person go, oh man, I'm in a drip campaign. They're going to be here forever. I can never get rid of them. Now I'm going to get mad. I'm going to get pissed. I'm going to spam mark them and all that kind of stuff. And instead they just like, oh, okay, this person like really wants my business. They seem like a nice hometown person. So this is what I'm going to do for the subject line on the second one. I really to be your insurance guy. Again, all of this, put it in kind of your tone and the way that you would communicate. But this for me is like conveys some sense of realness, right? And hey, because this is what we're playing for. You really want to be their insurance person, right? You want to be the person they come to over and over again. So why not just say that? Like, be straight up and say that. So and then just say, I know you recently requested a quote. So this is why it doesn't really matter like what insurance, like I don't know anything about insurance, but this is probably as simple as it needs to be, right? I know you recently requested an insurance quote. This kind of opens the funnel up a little bit. Like, who knows, maybe they went for auto and life and they went for a whole bunch of things, right? They can't remember what they did, and maybe auto was important to them then, but right now life insurance is. So maybe open that up and don't get so specific, because most time when people put something on the internet, or they fill out a form, they'll fill out multiple ones, right? So they probably don't even remember what they filled out or when they filled it out or how many. And this is why I always go assumptive. People criticize me for this all the time, but I act like I was one of the people that got the real-time lead, because they don't know any different. They don't know where they applied to. They don't know who these leads got to. So why not? Like, I am a part of that process a little bit, further down the road, 30 to 60 days later, but I am part of that group, right? So be a little assumptive. That you were in the mix the original time, right? I know you recently requested an insurance quote. We didn't connect at that time, but I really want to be your go-to insurance. Okay, so I like to break this up so they can scan it real quick, because they're going to be on their phone probably, right? So, but I really want to be your insurance person. Anytime you have an insurance question or need a quick quote, or call me. You'll be my top priority. Okay, so again, you're just being straight up honest with them, right? It's like, hey, you're going to be my top priority. Like, you can go back out and you could search the web, but why wouldn't you call me? Why would, And again, you can refine this, tighten this up. The thing you want to be really careful is you could go into a whole litany of benefits of contacting you versus someone else, but you don't want to do that, right? You want to just kind of build that relationship, that kind of even though you are being a little aggressive, they're not going to get a sense of that. They're going to feel like, man, this is a different kind of insurance person, right? He really cares who I am, and being of service to me. He's not trying to close the deal in every single email, but you kind of are, right? So be comfortable with that. Okay, so put our block in here on every single email. I can't tell you how many times people go back to their email and then I can't find their phone number, right? And I want to call them. So don't do that. It should go in there automatically. You can automate that. Do you have a policy? To review. Or questions about All right, you want to make this barrier as as kind of small or low as possible, right? And so I'm gonna say, hey, do you have a policy right now? Do you have questions about it? I'm available anytime, even for a quick question, right? Take the sale off the table, right? That's what they fear, is the sale part, right? So we're gonna take that off the table and say, like, I haven't asked them to actually buy anything from me yet, right? And I'm just gonna keep going down this process, right? For my welcome, I'm only going to do about 3 of these emails. Then I'm going to give them a little bit of a pause, and then I'm going to put them into kind of our regular long-term nurture is the way that I would probably line this up. I don't want to be the person, and you've got them in your email inbox right now probably, that just drips on you forever, like every single week. Like, hey, why don't you I've even got some of them that got pretty kind of like snippy, right? Why haven't you responded to me? The least you can do is respond to me, right? And it's like, I've got a million things to do, and you're like one of 100 people sending me exactly the same emails for exactly the same product. You don't want to be that person, right? You want to give them, 3 good emails. All you're trying to accomplish here is, like, I want to be your insurance person. Then when you flip them over into that once a week long-term lead nurture where you're providing content and kind of how-tos and tips and that sort of thing, they're going to accept it. They're not going to unsubscribe, right? Because you're providing them value. And then every once in a while in that long term, you're going to actually ask them for the sale, right? Hey, it's time. You should be reviewing your life insurance every year or whatever. You should be looking over your auto insurance every 6 months, right? And so you're going to intersperse that in. That's where you're going to start to kind of get that aggressive sale. And then all along the way, if they need something, they're going to go, oh, that guy is in my email inbox, and they'll go search your email out, and you're going to get lots of leads from this campaign. So that's kind of how I set it up. The last thing, I think organization's everything, because so often I think we neglect organization. So we build all this great content and then we just let it go away, or we don't check on it, we don't update it or whatever. So the other thing I like to do, I use Google Docs because I'm going to finish this actually. And at some point you guys will get a copy of this, but where the heck is table content? There we go. I'm going to go ahead and start organizing this. It's also really helpful because it gives you a way to kind of look at the workflow, or the flow chart, so to speak, of how this is evolving, right? So you're going to get to welcome, then at this, we're going to go to long-term. Long-term is going to be a little bit of a different process, but I'm going to probably have a welcome for age leads. I'm going to have a welcome for new. If I'm doing life and health, I'm going to have separate campaigns for that, potentially. But so anyway, that's how that's just going to kind of shake out. And like I said, once I get this all done, I'll point you guys to it in another video or email. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, we would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up, and tell all your friends about it. To take this link, this YouTube link, and send it out to friends, or forward that email out, because I think this is really will help you. Even if you don't do drip emails, I think it'll even help your kind of one-off prospecting emails. If you're going to do it manually, that's fine. You can just create templates out of this, but I think understanding how to do this well and how to write emails that get people's attention and get them in the right mindset to buy from you, I think is terribly important. So either way, I think this is going to be super helpful, so we'd love for you to share it. All right, we will see you on the next video. And like I said, any questions, comments, put them down here. Any questions about this, definitely comment in the video, because I'm going to be refining this. So if there's something you want to see in this document when I'm finished with it, let me know. And any of you, this is a last kind of just personal request, any of you that want to get on a 30-minute call with me and educate me about any insurance kind of line of business that you would like to see more sales content for, I'd love to talk to you and kind of flip the funnel a little bit and have you educate me so that I can be more valuable to you. We'll talk then. Okay, hopefully that was super helpful. I loved doing that, just kind of doing it off the cuff and having you sort of live hear me think through it and even pound out on the keyboard exactly the message. Obviously, it can use some more refining probably, and it will over time as I kind of build out a full campaign. But hopefully it gave you some real insight into how to get started and how easy it is to get started and pound out a couple messages so you can start your drip email campaign. Again, just a reminder, we'd love a thumbs up. We'd love for you to subscribe. And most importantly, especially for this one, because there's a lot of moving parts, and we talked about a lot of things, I would love for you to leave a comment that tells me where you're stuck. If there's anything preventing you from sending out and starting a drip email campaign this week, tell me what it is, and we're going to get you through that in the comment section. And number two, if you're working on a couple of subject lines or whatever, drop those in there and let the community and myself, we'll critique that or give you a good alternate so you can do a good A/B test. And of course, any other questions, we'd love to hear them in the comments. And we're going to see you next week with another sales tip.